2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
How can I find peace no matter what?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Good topic today, Brannon. Fitting topic, I think. So, before we jump into anything, we love our reviews. We got a new review this week, and it actually references one of our other callers. So I wanted to just share it with everybody. Give a shout out. So this is a shout out for Patrick, who just came on the show maybe a couple weeks ago. And it says, this episode filled so many blanks for me. Thank you. I started my recovery in December of 2017 after many decades of using pornography. I've learned so much over the years, but as we all know, we should continue to learn. The self-sabotage discussed has been my experience for some time. Bewildered as to what I was engaging in these unwanted behaviors, having no desire to do so, but I was so frustrating. This episode gave me some clarity, direction, and more understanding as to what has been happening in my life. I now have a definite direction that I will be pursuing. Thank you to Patrick and to the two of you for putting out an amazing podcast that helps so many.
Love it. Right there is the reason why we do this.
Love to receive that feedback. The whole goal is to try to be helpful. I know sometimes we say things that people don't agree with, but we love to know that we're helping people too sometimes. So thank you.
Without Patrick, that wouldn't have happened. So
exactly, it's the callers that make the show, because they're the ones putting their skin in the game, And so thank you to who put this review out as well. We appreciate you taking the time out of your life and your day to throw a shout out to Patrick as well.
Tyler, if someone wants to be a caller, where do they go?
Yeah, if you want to come and be a caller on the show and actually talk to Brannon and I, go to therapybros.com. That's therapybros.com. And you can sign up to come on the show and talk with us. You can also submit a question in writing. We obviously respond to the callers who come on the show a lot faster than the ones in writing, but we love your questions and we'd love to visit with you.
I was thinking about it, Tyler. What's kind of cool about what we do in our show? There is not a question that's too difficult or complex, and there is not a question that's too mundane and boring for us to break down and talk about. So if you're thinking about, gosh, should I go on the show? Should I not? Like, maybe my question's not a big enough question, or maybe my question's too difficult. We'll take them all.
We're
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
We might
We've
not
got,
even get the full conclusion, but we can definitely do some good with it, and we can definitely have a great discussion on principles and hopefully be helpful.
yep, and nothing shocks us, and we're ready to dive into it with you. So please come on the show.
Yep.
All right, Tyler, you ready to dive into this?
Let's jump into this. This is probably a question that everybody wants answered.
Yeah. So how do I find peace no matter what? There is an answer to that, Tyler. Like there's an actual answer, and I think I know what it is. And so I wanna start by sharing a quote. Um, and this quote is from Pema Chödrön. If you don't know who she is, I believe she's a Buddhist monk.
She's an
Um,
author.
she's an
Yeah.
author. She has her own story of pain and suffering and resiliency and growth. Um, so she comes to this from a place of wisdom, and um, this is Pima. This is something that she says, and it's kind of deep. And the way she talks, like you might have to go back and listen to this after I say it to really understand what she's saying. But she says this is called chasing the dream of constant okayness. It's not impermanence per se, or even knowing we're going to die that is the cause of our suffering. Rather, it's our resistance to the fundamental uncertainty of our situation. Our discomfort arises from all of our efforts to put ground under our feet, to realize our dream of constant okayness. When we resist change, it's called suffering. But when we can completely let go and not struggle against change, when we can embrace the groundlessness of our situation and relax into its dynamic quality, that's called enlightenment or awakening to our true nature, to our fundamental goodness. Another word for this is freedom. Freedom from struggling against the fundamental ambiguity of being a human being. So what do you think, Tyler?
Man, there's a lot there. My brain's breaking it up into like therapy or recovery kinds of terms to maybe have a discussion about this, but there's a lot there. What I think I heard, and this is something we might want to break down, is she used something. She said resistance to uncertainty. She named it something. She named it suffering.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the uncertainty itself, it's the resistance to the uncertainty that is the suffering.
Yes. Um, it's our resistance to the fundamental uncertainty of our situation. That causes our suffering. That takes our peace away. So let's give some actual examples of this, Tyler. And we see it all the time with our guests, with our clients, with ourselves,
Our lives.
our lives. Um, I really think that Carol Dweck's work and her book that we bring up all the time, growth mindset, is this same principle. It's the exact same principle that Pima is talking about here. Where we see people create a lot of suffering in their lives. And usually that suffering comes from resisting what is. So for example, let's say I am stressed about work and I have stress and I don't want to deal with that. And so I drink in order to deal with that. And my spouse gets mad at me because I drank too early in the day. And now I'm mad at her. And so I drink more. Now the spiral has begun and I am fighting against her. I'm feeling guilty myself. I'm numbing out my life. Is that suffering?
Yes, because it's the resistance of the reality, which is that I have a job that I go to that has these things. I have a wife that has a certain value system that's been spoken to me, and I'm pursuing not feeling or confronting or living any of the things that are actually on my plate in my day-to-day life right now.
Yep. Yep. That's it. Um, you see this with depression, even. I wake up and life's hard. There's a storm cloud today. Um, I don't want a storm cloud. I want the sunshine. I don't want the stressful job. I don't want the problems at work or the problems my car's having or whatever. forget it. I'm just going to shut down. I'm just going to sleep. I'm just going to stay here and do nothing because life freaking sucks. Do you hear the resistance there?
Yep.
Yep.
It's
Can I give one? Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead, Tyler.
go ahead.
I want to give one more because let's talk anxiety. Um, my kids went to school today. I'm just making up scenarios. My kids went to school today and I'm worried that they're going to get hurt. I'm worried that something bad's going to happen. And I'm freaking out and I can't sit still and I can't talk to you right now, Tyler, because I'm freaking out and like my heart's starting to beat and I can't focus at work and I can't. Do you hear the resistance there?
The resistance is interesting because there's a possibility that your kid could be hurt.
Yes.
The resistance is to feeling like you have some type of power and control over it.
No, well, yes. I'm resistant to the fact that they could get hurt. The fact is that they could, if I could accept
That's the
that,
truth.
I know this is hard, but if I could accept that they could get hurt, I'm not going to be caught up in all the anxiety.
Right. It's just the nature
Right?
of sending them off to school.
Yeah,
It's all part of it's all
that's the
part of
nature
it.
of life. Pema Chödrön said our suffering comes from us trying to put ground beneath our feet all the time. And if we
Yeah.
can accept the groundlessness of our situation, then that's called enlightenment and freedom.
Enlightenment and freedom is to accept the groundlessness of our situation.
There's the paradox right there, right?
Well, and here is an added paradox to that then, because I hear this happen with myself. I think this myself. I have it go through my clients all the time. Freedom is to accept the groundlessness of your situation, which in a certain sense connotes this idea of I'm powerless. Like this is like things could change beyond my power at any time, any given time. And the minute I accept that, I suffer less, I find more joy, I find freedom. At the same time, that people then think that that means I have to give away my choice. I have to give away my accountability. I have to give away
Right.
and yet that's not what she's saying inside that quote either.
Right. Yeah.
It's right.
Get to the dialectic, Tyler.
Yeah. So
we can, right? Go ahead.
yeah. So the dialectic is this. There's truth in being able to accept that this life is forever changing, that we live in a world that is constantly changing, that some things are beyond our control, that we cannot actually control the outcomes of our lives. And the minute we accept that, we have freedom at the same time that we are responsible to use our agency and our choice to make the best possible choices based on our values towards a life of growth inside of a world that is constantly changing.
Yep.
And this is what's really interesting is that the people who are the happiest, they put in a full effort and they surrender the outcome and they accept that both are necessary. That I'm going to do my best no matter what, even though I may not fully control how it turns out. And I will have peace of mind at the end of the day by having done all that I can in the reality that I'm in. And I will accept whatever comes as what's supposed to happen because it did happen. Which then means it's an opportunity for me to grow and to learn and to have an experience that I otherwise wouldn't have.
So it's interesting, Tyler, that one of the most powerful things for people struggling with addiction to get into recovery is this simple phrase. And when they talk about living this way, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
The wisdom.
That's Pema Chödrön's quote, just spoken differently.
Spoken in recovery terms.
In recovery terms. But that's the magical place of I'm in my alignment with God because I'm stepping into my purpose and I am doing my best. And by dang, this is God's will, not mine. And so I don't have control over everything that's going to happen in my life. Things will happen in my life. Pain is going to come, struggle, trials, disease, all of those things is going to happen in our lives. And I don't have total control over that, but what do I have control over?
You have control over your choices and what you choose to do based in the reality that you're living in.
Right. So this is where we mix up, Tyler, fixed mindset with doing our best. I can do my best with a growth mindset. So what that means is when I do my best, I am not trying to control anything. I'm simply doing my best. When I am doing my best in order to get the world to be what I need it to be in order for me to be okay, that's a huge setup.
That's a big setup that is going to lead to a lot of misery.
Yep. Because I will be pissed off because it's not ending up the way that it should.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of these things, Brannon, thinking of it in recovery terms. I'm also thinking of it from like, obviously the quote you read is more from kind of maybe a Buddhist kind of tradition, but similar principle, thinking of it from a Christian perspective. Adam and Eve partake of the fruit. They're cast out of the garden. And then there's a quote in the scripture that says, I will curse the ground for thy sake, and out of the sweat of thy brow shalt thou eat thy bread all the days of their life. Right. So in a certain sense, now this is interesting. God is saying for your sake, there's going to be no guarantees. You're going to need to go plant your crops. You're going to need to go try to figure out how to turn some kind of a yield so that you can survive. And there might be a drought. There might be no water. There might be too hot of a sunshine. There might be something else. There's no guarantees. And yet for your sake, you're going to work. You're going to experience effort. And as a result of not having full control while still putting in your effort, it will be for your sake.
Yeah. Yes. That's the nature of life. And when we can accept that that's the nature of life, like, I mean, we could really get philosophical here, Tyler. Like, in my opinion, we're here to learn. We're here to grow. And if we're able to accept the pain that comes into our life, then that's our real opportunity for growth. And if we're able to accept the goodness too, that allows us to grow too. The happiness and those type of things. But we're here for growth. And so whenever, and this is growth mindset, whenever anything comes into my life, whether it's COVID or cancer or whatever the thing is, that's just an opportunity. It's a huge, massive opportunity. And if I look at it from that place, then I can accept it. It's here. I'm going to fully embrace this. It's here. It's reality. So now how do I take this thing, whatever it is that's really difficult and hard, and how do I allow myself to grow as a result? Right? Then you become resilient to everything that comes into your life.
If you were to actually master that principle, every single life experience is now an opportunity.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Brandon, what you're saying too, because I'm thinking about this idea of happiness. And everyone, if you're listening, you're like, what is your ideal definition of happiness? Most of us would think heaven, or I'm living in total comfort or bliss all of the time, but what we're saying here, and this is, I think, the truth, at least the way that I've come to understand it in my own life, even though I don't always accept it myself and I'm still a work in progress, is that if you were to include a definition of happiness, it would have to include that inside of that definition, the existence of pain.
Tyler, think about it. Like, it's crazy the way that God has designed this. Like, you could turn StarCraft on right now, grab a Mountain Dew, get buzzed on meth, and you could just start releasing the dopamine inside of you for hours right now, right? Like, you could find a state of just bliss today, just through all of those things, correct?
That's right.
So why don't we? If we have the means to do that, then why don't you and I choose to do that today?
Because we know that won't lead to happiness, even though you use the word bliss.
I'm using the word bliss. What do you mean that doesn't lead to happiness? Right? God's designed it this way. Like, we can try to get to this place of numb, this place of bliss in our, but real peace and real happiness happens in acceptance. It's not in escaping the pain. It's through allowing it and letting it. And the pain has to be there in order for heaven to happen.
Because heaven is about growth. It's about becoming.
Right.
And the greatest teacher is the uncertainty. The greatest teacher is the unfairness of life. The greatest teacher is the challenges that we face. The greatest teacher is the struggle that we have to go through. You know, if we look at this from an academic perspective, the research shows it that people who are the happiest are people who actually are in the midst of and overcoming struggles. That's part of it. And part of what we find is that when it comes to growth, when it comes to the greatest ability for us to learn is when we're in what's called a state of flow. And what a state of flow is when we're like completely engaged in a moment, 100% there in that moment. There's a couple of things that have to be present. One is that we're engaged in something where we have a 40 to 60% chance of either failing or winning.
Mm-hmm.
So about a 50-50 chance of either failing or winning. And we're put into the game where our abilities are not quite up to the level of what the competition is, but it's close enough. If the level of competition is too high, then we don't perform well. But when we're in flow, we're in a game we're supposed to lose just barely against competition that's just slightly better than us. And in that moment, that's where we actually end up performing the best and growing the most.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we love the idea of the underdog story. That's why when March Madness comes around, we love when a number 12 seed knocks off a number 5. It's because the 12 seed really shouldn't win, but they're just close enough that they exceed their normal levels and abilities. And we love that because we all resonate with that in our own lives.
Right. But if you wake up in the morning and you say, "Oh my gosh, this is exciting. I get to go fight that battle." Like this is cool. Like I could win, I could lose, but
I'm going to learn.
I'm on the playing field. Like I'm going to get on the playing field today, even though part of me doesn't want to. Part of me doesn't want to get out of bed right now, but I'm going to go do it. And like, let's see what happens. And on those nights when you're licking your wounds because you got your ass kicked, this is kind of the key, is that you look back on that day and you say, that was freaking awesome. Because tomorrow I get back on that playing field. I lived today. I learned how to battle. I learned how to feel. I learned how to go there. So let's go do it. Let's start businesses. Let's get in relationships. Let's like do it. Let's step into our purpose because I'm not scared of that failure. And there's no such thing as failure because every time the bad happens, every time I lose, every time I don't get what I want, that's just growth. That's tuition.
That's tuition.
Right?
I like that. Yeah, I'm thinking about this. You know, we have a really amazing example in our grandfather of this. We talk about him a lot on the podcast here. But, you know, Don Harris, our grandfather, he, through no fault of his own, lost his hearing as a child. He got made fun of all the time, got picked on all the time. Went home crying one day, said he's never going back to school because all the kids make fun of him and he can't understand his teachers. And his mom looked at him and said, no, from now on, you're going to sit on the front row and you're going to learn to read lips. And when you get laughed at, just laugh right along with them. And then going through his whole life, you know, when if you look at his journals and his writings, he actually struggled with depression. He struggled with feelings of lowness, of not being good enough, of a lot of things. He ran into a lot of disappointments with opportunities, things he wanted to do that he wasn't allowed to do because of the loss of his hearing. And yet, through the whole story, if you read his journals, you see the battle happening. You see his acceptance of the reality of his situation, that he is disadvantaged, that he doesn't have his hearing, that he struggles with depression, and yet you see journal page after journal page of affirmations, of intentions, of something that we call his optimist creed that he wrote for himself that was his intention for the life he wanted to live. And he woke up every day working towards those things that were his intentions. And the man that we knew was a man who was extremely happy,
Vibrant.
alive, joyful, vibrant in the game. I mean, he'd go out and play knockout in the backyard with us as like an 83-year-old man, and he'd have to like shoot a granny shot from the free throw line just to play. And then he'd like stumble around the court trying to like not get knocked out. And then he'd be disappointed when he got out, like, but he was just in the game. Like he lived the game of life, even though he still struggled with the pain, the depression, the disadvantage. He accepted those things as his reality, and he made choices accordingly. And the greatest thing about that is that he now lives on in our life, at least in the family lore, as this bigger than life figure to us.
Yeah.
And it's not because he won all the time.
No, he had his fair share of trials.
It's because he was in the game.
Yep.
And he accepted the game and played it as it was intended.
But Tyler, that right there's the beauty of the opportunity that we're all given. We're all given that agency and that choice to either step on that playing field or to step off of it. And we are like increasingly being thrown lifelines to get us out of the game that are really easy. So we can grab our phones, we can just escape every situation because we got our phone. Like, okay, I can just do this right now. There's our drugs, there's our swig, there's our whatever, TV shows and video games. And not to say that all these things are bad. I'm not saying that. But what these things do when we take them out of balance in our life is they turn into this place where we are in a state of resistance toward life.
We're trying to control things rather than embrace life as it is.
Yeah, because we're escaping. Yep. We're escaping instead of embracing. And there in right there is where the suffering starts to come. When we escape into those things, into those addictions, because we don't want to embrace life as it comes and deal with the pain.
It'd be a missed opportunity.
Simply put, you can be done with your addiction if you're willing to tolerate pain. Whatever your addiction is.
That's the part that most people come into our office and don't want to hear that on the first day.
No, they don't.
It's like, but the truth is that the soul who learns to embrace pain as the necessary path towards happiness and sees pain now as an opportunity to learn and to grow, that person actually does find recovery.
Yeah.
And that more than half of recovery, I mean, it's just like it says in the Serenity Prayer you just quoted, more than half of recovery is acceptance of those things, and even to the point of willingly embracing those things for our sake, for our growth.
Right. It's like that moment where it's like, "Gall, I'm bored and I'm tired, and so I want to just go find something to give me a buzz or numb me out," to just accept the boredom and the tiredness, to just sit in it, to just be in it. To know it and to feel it. Now, everything inside your limbic system is saying, resist this, fight against it, and escape it. But to learn how to embrace things as they come, that's recovery.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Brannon, with this idea of, I go back to the Serenity Prayer for a second. God grant me the courage to accept the things I cannot change. No, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and this one particularly, the wisdom to know the difference. Let's talk about that. Like, how does one gain the wisdom to know the difference between the thing that I can change and the thing that I need to accept?
I think that putting that in the Serenity Prayer is so wise, because it's like we get caught up in our suffering when we're wanting something to shift that we don't have power to shift. Like, for example, I want somebody else to change. I want somebody else to make a decision or think a certain way or whatever. Do I have the ability to change them, to shift them? No.
Not necessarily.
Right? Now, I do have the ability to influence them. I have the ability to set a good example. I have the ability to resonate in a way around them. Like I have that ability within me, and I don't have the ability to change them and make their decisions for them. Now, think about coming back to your question, the wisdom to know the difference. Why is that so important in this example, Tyler?
Well, I think it also allows room for some self-compassion for not getting it right all the time. That's why
Yeah.
it's so important. I just as you were talking, I just looked up a definition, and it's right where my brain was going too. It says, what is wisdom? The quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment.
Yeah.
Now, I love that in the Serenity Prayer, it allows for experience. The way that we gain wisdom is through our experience, whether that's our own experience, which is some of the deepest learning we'll ever have, or through the observation of others' experiences. That's how we gain wisdom.
Yep.
And so we have to be in the game. We have to have that experience. We have to see that experience to gain the wisdom, to then start to parse it out in any given situation that I'm in. What do I have control over here and what don't I? Right. There's certain things in our lives, Brannon, you and I, we struggle with things, right? Even stupid things, like you and I both had sinus infection for over a month.
Yeah.
Like, that's annoying. We don't like that. We don't want that. That's okay. But the truth is that it's our reality, and we have to live with that reality and make choices based on acceptance. What can we do? What do we have to let go of?
Yep.
Right?
Well,
someone we love gets cancer, or you lose a loved one, the inevitability of death. Like, we can be sad about it, we can hurt about it. At a certain point, we have to then come back to the same question: what do I have control over, and what do I need to surrender?
I remember, Tyler, when I was in junior high, so I didn't have much wisdom, I was wearing my sweatpants to school, and it was like this time
you
of
love
year.
Those sweats, dude.
You got to drive that home. It was this time of year, so it was March, and it was like early March, and I was sick and tired of the winter. I was resistant. I was just kind of depressed and pissed off at life. And I remember thinking, like, I can't take one more snowstorm. I'm sick of the dirty snow all over. I'm sick of the pollution. And the very next day, lo and behold, it stormed.
Good thing you were controlling that.
Yeah. And I was pissed. I was like pissed at God. Like, God, just when I'm saying, like, I can't take one more, this is what I get. Like, this is horrible, blah, 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 blah. How much did that storm, like, I don't know. Like, how much did I have control over it, for one?
Zero.
And was God really out to, like, get me? Is that why that storm came?
Well, because you in your own head said, I can't stand another storm. God picked that up and he's like, hey, watch this. Like,
but here's the wisdom to know the difference of what I have control over. I could look at that as God, attacking me, or I could look at that as God loving me. Right?
Yeah.
And so now in my life, I know that I have the choice to embrace God's love and to see it in my life, versus create a story and a narrative about how picked on I am and what a victim I am of life. And I don't have much control over whether it storms or not.
That's right.
Whatever happens is going to happen. What I have control over is how I interpret that and what I do with that as it comes.
That's right. It's that famous quote that people have heard before that says, I cannot control the wind, but I can adjust the sails. And that's the idea.
That's beautiful. You sail across in life, and it's so awesome when the storms come. You get excited because you get to ride some big waves, and when the calm comes, you get excited because you get to chill out, get a suntan. So whatever happens, coming back to Grandpa Harris, his famous story of when he dug out foundations by hand for houses, and his job was to literally dig all day,
dig ditches.
And he would dig with the shovel and get really tired. And so then he would grab his pick to like pick out the rocks and stuff. And he'd say, God, I got the best job in the world because when I get tired from shoveling, I get to pick. And when I get tired from picking, I get to shovel. Like it's amazing.
He's like, the way I see it, I'm resting all day long.
Yeah, that's what he says. Like, I get to rest all day long. I'm resting from shoveling or I'm resting from picking. Um, um, he realizes I have the ability to have that type of an attitude in what many would interpret as a crappy situation. Right?
That's right. But that's his attitude. And if you hear that, it comes all the way back to what we were talking about, the acceptance of the reality. My reality is that I'm going to go work hard all day. The acceptance is that this is the job that I'm doing right now to provide for my family. I'm doing it the best way I know how. And because I'm in this situation, I can always choose to view it in a way that leads to less suffering and more joy.
Right. And Tyler, I realize that whenever we have conversations like this, those people that want to stay stuck in a fixed mindset, those people who are choosing suffering, they don't like this conversation or conversations like this, because what we're saying is that although you have hard things in your life, like we're not saying that your pain is not real, but we're saying that your suffering is chosen. That you are actually choosing to resist the fundamental ambiguity of being a human being. You're choosing to resist that, and you're trying to control something instead.
That's right. Pain may be part of what you're actually going through. Pain, you may not even like the pain. Pain is uncomfortable. Pain hurts. It doesn't feel good. None of that is suffering. It's just pain. Pain is still
peace.
Pain is still transitional. It's still growth oriented. I can still find peace inside of my pain if I accept the reality of my situation. Now, acceptance of the reality of my situation, again, does not take away my need to act based on the reality of my situation. I still have my actions.
Whatever's in your control. Do your best. Yeah.
I still have to do my best with the energy that I have and the reality that I'm in. Right. So that's not what we're saying either, is roll over and die. Like, no. Like, the acceptance of my reality allows me to use the resource of my choice to the best of my ability. And at the end of the day, I can feel peace in having done my best in the reality and looked for opportunities for the growth that the pain offers.
At the end of the day, you praise God because God has given you exactly what you need. Right. So, okay, I do what you say, Tyler. I'm like, hey, I accept the pain and then I do my best. And then boom, more pain comes right into my life again. Yeah. Right? So I do it again and boom, more pain. And it's like, well, fetch, like, aren't I going to get a different outcome? Who am I, Job here?
Yeah. Right? I had a guy in group, Brannon, just this week came in and sat down. He's like, guys, I just got to check in. He's like, and what I'm going to say first is just like, he's like, I'm just feeling a little low right now. He's like, here's my problem. I know that I'm resilient. I know I'm going to bounce back. I know it's one of God's gifts to me that I'm resilient. He's like, I'm tired of being resilient. He's like, I'm sick of it. I don't want more. You know, it's like, okay, he's in a moment of acceptance of his goodness, but rejecting the pain. And so he's like, I'm now going to fight and pretend that life will no longer offer me any struggles or opportunities to be resilient, even though he knew at the end of the day, he's going to need to be resilient.
At least he's being honest about it.
Yeah. He's honest with his feelings. He's tired. It's okay that he's tired.
Yeah. Tyler, this has been a good discussion. I appreciate you having it with me. I actually think that acceptance of the nature of life is a learning experience, and that pain is a huge part of that learning is what leads to peace and what leads to us embracing the next thing and almost being excited for what's to come. And so thank you for having this discussion with me.
You bet, Brannon. I would just finish by reemphasizing this idea that it's human for all of us to try to control things, but it's when we get into controlling things outside of our control that causes the most pain. And this world that we live in will constantly remind us of that.
Oh, yeah, it'll constantly push it back.
because
show
we
you.
don't have control.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you guys. Thanks for listening with us. Hopefully this is sitting with you guys. Maybe there's some things churning inside of you. We'd be open to having conversations with you if you have other opposing ideas, or if you have other questions. And until next time, you guys keep on keeping on.
See ya.